I wasn't formally taught how to plan an inquiry-based project. And a lot of people are, I don't want to say fearful of that, but they're in the dark. And I think those two pieces right there, the assessment and that planning, it's pretty easy to carry out. It's not a difficult task to let the kids ask questions and research. We have computers. We have so many resources that can do that. But the start and the end, that's the 100% the darkness that I know I've heard and I know I feel a lot of the times.
Okay.
You've got a big question that kind of gets students engaged and into it. Then you're looking at those overall expectations.
Yeah.
And then you set some learning goals. So for the cartoon one, I want them to engage with the concept of continuity and change. I need them to engage with the techniques for media literacy because it's cross-curricular. Then how do they achieve that? Your success criteria. That helps to take away some of that darkness. One thing that I found useful in developing those big questions is looking at the disciplinary thinking concepts. So for example, changing continuity. I decided to apply that to that period right after Confederation where there's a whole bunch of different unrelated things going on. And out of that concept of changing continuity, I drew the idea of progress. So that whole unit was based on the question, was Confederation successful? So using those thinking concepts is a way of getting at really good questions, but also questions that are embedded in that subject area. To me, that you get your cause and consequence or historical perspective. Like who is it that had a voice in the creation of Confederation and looking into perspective. So those thinking concepts, and then OESTA, OEG, OHASTA has developed success criteria for each of those concepts. So you look at those success criteria and it helps you to develop questions.
That, like even that statement right there in my head as I'm talking to you, I'm thinking about, okay, well, yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
Okay, so that's my learning goals, that's my success criteria, because my success criteria is driving my learning goals, and my learning goals are coming from my big ideas.
Right.
But now that's how I'm incorporating my curriculum document into what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
So
that.
then the success criteria, so how am I going to assess?
And then you get
things?
your lovely
You can't
triangle
do it
and
with a test
everything.
at the end if it's formulating questions. But setting it up that way just seems a little bit less dark and scary.
For sure.
But gives you as a teacher so much flexibility and freedom.
Which is the funny part, because we want flexibility and freedom, but in order to get the flexibility and freedom, we have to figure out that change and be willing to
It's really hard
adapt
in the summer
and
because you
change.
could tell the groups of teachers that were there that were wanting me to hand them a document to walk away with. And the whole thing was, that's not what this curriculum is about. Like, I can't give you a unit that's going to work for your students in the region that you're in with the issues and things that are going on.
But the process.
But the process, yes, that's
Something that you can give.
Help you with. Yeah.
For sure. I love Met and Not Met and Davies back in the day. But Met and Not Met is my favorite way to mark, because that's all they really want to, like, who cares?
Right.
They don't know what a level 3 is, what a level 4 is, 1 and 2. A lot of the time, did I meet the expectations or did I not meet it?
The most important part is beside the Met, Not Met, is I say, I want you to write, how did you meet it, or how could you meet it? So there is supposed to be that.
Which is going back to the success criteria that they created
Right.
in general, right?
Right.
So if they can realize why they actually did it, or why they met it, or why they did not meet it, that's the learning.
Right.
That would be your for learning, right?
Right.
so that when they go to do it, then that's okay. This is
for
where
me,
I screwed up. This is and it's the whole learn from your mistakes mantra, right? Like that's screw up. Go ahead. I want you to do. I don't want you to be perfect. I want you to mess up as much as you can, because then you're going to realize it. But getting them to realize it is the key. Like.
We have this big world tour thing for Strand B in the geography, quality of life, global inequalities, and so on. And we were each assigned a continent, and the kids all have countries, and they're making these visual boards about that. And the other kids were all given a list of things that they need on it: life expectancy, death rate, birth rate, and so on. I've given my students nothing, because we started with what are the criteria for quality of life. They developed the criteria. And then in groups, they focus on one of the criteria. Well, what's involved in that? How do you measure that? What does that look like? How does it impact? And then it's interrelationships, the concept that I'm driving with it. So if it's economics, well, how does a good economy affect some of these other criteria, like healthcare or natural resources or whatever?
You start getting your correlations.
And I'm willing to bet, though I can't say until we're there yet, that on May 6th, when we do the project, they'll look similar. They'll have all of those things. They'll have the population pyramids and everything on it. But I didn't give them the list at the start. They developed that. And it's been funny. Like 3 days ago, I thought, oh my goodness, this is not going to work. And then, but I'm conferencing with them and trying to get them to think. Economics. Well, how do you measure that? They had a real hard time with that. They wanted to cultural diversity. Well, how do you measure that? Well, there's lots of different people. Well, you got to put a percentage on that or something. You've got to give me numbers. It's geography.
There's your numeracy.